Today, we don't even know the extent of the problem it is. Is anyone here without this? Anyone here? No. Is anyone without this here in this room?
No one.
No one. I don't know whether it's become a necessary evil. I don't know. I was reading a story, a real life story. This youngster, a brilliant teenager, his parents never allowed him the mobile phone. He was in class 10 or class 12. He told him, if you crack the national exams, entrance exam for further studies, you would get that. He was becoming 18 also by then. So he worked hard, a brilliant student. He cracked the exams, got the results. They got him the phone. So the family went on a holiday somewhere outside US to celebrate. So this guy, so excited with this new gadget, and then he put all the photos on his Facebook. And one person appreciated, yes, I liked it. And then they became friendly, slowly. Slowly friendship developed. And then it took a different turn. She happened to be a young woman who cornered him, misled him by soliciting for sexual behaviors. And then you know that how people try to do that. She completely cornered him, and then I don't know, he also lost control. Then finally she said, I've taken all the videos of you, and then now I'm going to export it to you unless you pay me $500. He paid, managed from pocket money. $1,000 against it. No, that's not enough. More. $5,000. That's when he couldn't manage. What do you think he would have done?
Suicide.
Very simple. We have stories here also. You know how it's very, very subtle. No, it is neutral. Digital usage is neutral, but do we have the power and the wisdom? That's the question. To use it for constructive purpose. That's what today we are learning. We don't even know the magnitude of the problem. And then solution also is not, it's just evolving today. Thanks to the department, two friends here who are here, professionals in this domain of expertise, and it's evolving. They will share with us. And but one thing, when I was working in, I'm glad that we are beginning to talk about this, which means we will accept it as a problem and then we will address it. So I won't take much time on only giving the introduction. I was looking at the whole digital usage. Somebody is behind this. The people. You heard of this term? Attention economy. It's all they word called our psychology. Attention, because so we give attention to this gadgets. So how they capitalize, rather exploit our crave. So it comes subtly without our knowledge. Our attention is drawn somewhere. So this is where the attention economy exploits all these things. Anybody here who's not using any of that? Anyone here? Can I see the hand? No one. One or the other. We are using. Okay, they will talk about the negative side of these things. So this, the digital drive that blew us to screens every scroll, that's it, right? Click, like and share. Anything else? Scroll, click, like and share. It's more than a mere action, that's what. So the transaction in the world's most valuable currency, our attention. Then the social media platforms are designed to maximize user engagement, namely by influencing the brain's reward system. So they know the psychology. They're investing billions of dollars to play with our brain. The value of attention. The value of attention has never been more apparent than the staggering 853 billion in 2023 global advertising revenue. So sometimes I think even the television, for entertainment's sake, after busy days of work, studies, we sit and watch some serial. But it doesn't restrict it only, isn't it? So many advertisements in between. How they play with our mind, our brain, subconscious. The equation is simple. If they have your attention, they have your pocketbook. You know that? The technology notification, we are not brains in a jar. With beeps and vibrations constantly notifying us what we are missing out. Isn't it? We have become the most anxious and medicated cohort in modern history. This is what connection to the digital technology and devices made us. The other side of it. There are positive side, but the negative side of this one. You heard of these terminologies? Heard of this? FOMO? Yes, somebody is saying that. Yes. Fear of? JOMO? So that's where now to this session, I hope at the end of the session, some of you will begin to move from FOMO to JOMO. This is how the visual representation of the JOMO. This is fear of missing out to the joy of missing out. Okay? That's where my friends here, they will talk, lead you there, the joy of missing out. You will not regret. No FOMO, the joy of missing out. That's why we are here today. And over to Yaseen. Yes. See, as he is setting up, one of my favorite speakers, international speakers, is no more. He said, I quote, he said, we are living in the age of knowledge explosion. Aren't we? Knowledge is exploding. We are a society that glorifies knowledge. But what is missing? What is missing? Yes? So he said, my favorite speaker said, we are living in the age of knowledge explosion without the accompanying wisdom. How to use the knowledge constructively. We need wisdom to use the knowledge. We are glorifying knowledge without a wisdom. That's why we are in a mess. That's why this knowledge explosion could contribute to making a society better. Is our society better? You can come plug in. I work with the have-not, the underprivileged, the affected, because I know that how the whole globe, the big divide between the rich and the poor. It is not all the technological advancement is not made our society more equitable, more socially just. No, the gap is widening. More differences. So let's acquire wisdom to use the technology which has now become as a necessary evil in our hands. Over to Syed.
My name is Yaseen. I am a PhD scholar and a clinical psychologist. I work in the area of behavioral addictions. My primary area of interest is gaming disorder, but we also work with gambling, social media use, and pornography. So the first question is, are you a normal user or a pathological user? How did you come to that conclusion? Do you want to know? Before we move on, continuing with what Sir was speaking about, attention. Why is it so important? How many of you have changed your phone because it got slower? Yeah? I changed it recently. How many of you have changed or have noticed your irritation popping up when the internet is slow? Yeah, a lot of us, right? And that's where attention spans come into picture. Or what we call as they're becoming shorter and shorter. Have you been noticing it? Reels, videos longer than 15 seconds, scroll. You don't watch them anymore. So before we move on to what is normal or pathological use, I'll briefly touch upon app design itself. You all heard about app design? All of you use apps? Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, lot more things? How many of you have started something on the internet enabled app and then realized the time has flown? How many of you have timers set on your phone? I do. Or else I'll just be stuck in my room scrolling endlessly through some random website. Do you think it's difficulty in controlling your impulse? Then? It's nice, no? To keep scrolling through Reels or YouTube Shorts or something else. What's happening there? Ever wondered? What's happening there? Rather than impulse control is something greater at work behind all of this. What if you think, or what if someone designed an app to exploit human vulnerabilities? You all have attention spans? What if apps were designed to actually exploit this? Would you still be using that app? Would you want to think again? Would you want to set timers on apps? Have you ever heard about this term? Deceptive patterns. Ever heard about this term? How companies use certain deceptive patterns in order to deal with humans. The second picture is one of a report published by about how apps have been using these deceptive patterns in collaboration with the Indian government. These are what we call as dark patterns. And this was a study that was done in the Indian cohort with all major apps. If you see the second part, can you see cab booking? Ola, Uber is there, Rapido is there, delivery, Swiggy, Zomato, e-commerce. You name it, and I'm sure that every app that you have on your phone is listed over here. And all of these are alleged to use deceptive patterns or dark patterns. Now, what are these dark patterns? You notice dark patterns are dark commercial patterns, and they use elements of digital choice architecture to either subvert or impair consumer autonomy, decision making, and choice. This is a snapshot of all the apps that actually use these particular patterns. There are a lot of them, but I'll just be discussing a few. Have you ever heard this thing? Manipulating users into unknowingly sharing more personal data than intended. You go to a website to download a PDF and then they ask you to register. They want your email ID and your phone number. Interface interference. Have you ever noted that when you want to cancel, it's there in red and go forward is in green? Color coded ways to manipulate you. False urgency. Have you ever heard there are only 2 rooms left, only 2 items left? And forced action. So, in spite of you wanting to access the PDF, then you will have to do something else, fill up a survey. Ever noticed that? And confirm shaming. I think this is something that we all have experienced more or less. Using guilt or social pressure to manipulate users into confirming acts. Do you not want to take an inference? Do you want to lose your phone or in transit or flight insurance? The question then comes, what is the government doing in this particular aspect? And government has actually put up a notice. It has sent an official memorandum to all the companies and say that, and these are some of the examples. I will stay unsecure, there are only 2 rooms left, designing a light colored option for selecting no, and a dark mode. These are all ways that companies force you to choose things that maybe is not in your best interest. And the government is actually doing a lot of work helping common users like us. We'll also be delving slowly into what the Digital Data Protection and Privacy Act is. All of you are law students, right? You all might have heard about Digital Data Protection and Privacy Act 2023 in force. So now the question comes, what is the problem if I use excessively? Now we have understood that maybe not every app is here for your benefit. Maybe they are exploiting. If they are not getting money out of, if you are not paying for the app, then who is the payee for them? It's you. It's your attention. And that's what they are using. What will happen if you are constantly attentive to ads? Have you ever noticed when you go to a grocery store or say you go to D-Mart and then you see a list of detergents? What detergents would you prefer? First thing would be Surf Excel, Ariel or Tide. Why? Take any two detergent bottles and compare the contents. They'll be similar. Branding, exactly. Marketing. What's it doing? It's slowly putting in ideas into your what we call awareness. And once you're just aware of this, that's enough for them. When you go actually make a choice, you end up choosing them. And that's how attention is enough for them. That's why you don't have to pay for all of these apps. They're free. Ads pay themselves. The first of excessive screen usage, if you notice, is that you will, how many of you have had eye strain in the night? Waking up with tired eyes. You have had that before when we finish up that project in the last moment, sitting, pulling an all-nighter, trying to finish writing, typing. You have had it, right? And there are also what we call as stress-induced headaches and sleep disorders. How many of you have found it difficult to wake up in the morning or go to sleep? How many of you put yourselves to sleep by scrolling endlessly? You have to sometimes. Too bored to do anything in life, and we are scrolling ourselves to put ourselves to sleep sometimes. These are what we call as sleep disorders. Because I'm also a clinical psychologist working in a psychiatric setting, we do notice a lot of clients coming in with this. I'm not able to fall asleep, I'm not able to keep sleeping, or I wake up very early. These are all sleep disorders that can occur because of excessive screen usage. Second thing, sedentary lifestyle. Friends are calling me for cricket, friends are calling me to go for an outing. It's okay, I'll scroll through Instagram. Facebook is more interesting. There's a new YouTube video, or there's a new series that's released. I need to finish it today. Mental health concerns. How many of you feel anxious? How many of you felt, you're sitting outside your Viva room, last examination, you'll have to give a Viva. You feel anxious? Knots in the stomach? You'll have to go propose to your girlfriend or boyfriend or this new person you have met. Feel anxious? You do feel anxious, right? That's in an extreme form what we call as an anxiety disorder. Constant pervasive anxiety, which won't let you sleep, which won't let you think, which will cause a lot of problems. Then we have depression and stress. Are you angry when people don't respond to you immediately?
Yes.
It is a common side effect of excessively being on the social media. We expect everybody to respond immediately, right? Oh, scene zone. Oh, he has seen on me. She has seen on me. We are not made, as humans, we are not made to immediately reply. But technology has changed that. They are not replying to me. It means, what does it mean? They are talking to somebody else. What else? They are avoiding us. Ghosting. Great. What else? What? They're studying. Okay. What else? Huh? They have attitude. Good. Nice. That's the way to put it. But most commonly or not, if it is a very close person,
Don't like us.
they don't like us. And we start thinking, what did I do wrong? Yeah? And that's where the cycle of depression begins. What did I do wrong? Did I do a mistake? But we are not made to have such immediate conversations. But internet does that. And if you extend it to the further extent, it becomes a depressive episode. Stress. HOD has sent an email. Immediately we'll have to respond. That's just stress, no? Don't please name me and say that, oh, sir said that HOD's emails can be replayed to the next day. Don't do that. And there is decreased face-to-face social interactions. Doesn't it happen? How many of us are talking to our friends and also holding our phone at the same time? You know what that? Yeah, I see people pointing to their friends and like this. You know, there's a term that we use for that. It's called snubbing using a phone, which is now shortened to fubbing. So you're snubbing someone using a phone. That's called fubbing. P-H-U-B-B-I-N-G. Then comes the question, what happens to your academic and cognitive development? Cognitive development is basically the way you think and your academics itself. Poor attention span. How many of you have read the same paragraph thrice and then you realize that I'm thinking something else, I'm reading something else? It happens even with me some days. Because I also practice mindfulness, is a little better off for me. Maybe, but it also happens with us. You're like, why didn't they reply? And you're reading the same paragraph 3 times and you're like, nothing went into my head. Attention spans are becoming somehow different. And what happens when that happens? Poor academic performance. You go write an exam and then you realize that, oh wow, I just studied 1/10 of the portion and gave an exam. Critical thinking. Does it go bad? All of you as law students learn what we call as Socratic questioning. Socratic questioning? No? Maybe later on in the course you will end up learning what Socratic questioning is. It's a form of critical thinking that even psychologists use to help clients navigate their own thinking processes. And that's very important. But what we are noticing is that a decrease in this process itself. Have you ever went to the market and then looked at different items and decided, okay, what is the cost per ml for this detergent and then decided which to buy, which is the best? No, right? Like, Surf Excel. We have seen enough ads. Bas, we will take this. Yes, that's the loss of critical thinking. Same components, same content, same quality. Why don't you choose the best one out of it? Loss of critical thinking. And over-reliance on digital devices. I'm going to ask you a very controversial question. ChatGPT? We all have at one point or other time used ChatGPT? Every day. Sometimes when we use it for academics, puts us in a lot of problem, gives us citations that never exist, tells us things that are not plausible. Yes? No? It happens. I'm not saying that ChatGPT is bad. You can use it, but you'll have to know how to use it. But if you over-rely on it, it's going to cause problems. And this last thing is something that we keep noticing. Aggression. Have you ever seen young children? Huh?
iPad kids.
iPad?
Kids.
iPad kids, yes. You take away the iPad? Can I share a small minute from my own practice? We also have what we call as a Child and Adolescent Psychiatry Center in NEMHANS, where children and adolescents come. There's a lot of issues, from autism to ADHD to other intellectual problems. And now what's happening is there is a lot of behavioral addiction. So there was a mother sitting in the OPD and there's a patch of hair missing from her head over here. And I was the junior consultant over there, so we were just waiting and the person who has seen the case comes in and I asked them very casually, what happened to the mother? Does she also have an anxiety condition. This is an anxiety condition in which people pull out hairs, trichotillomania. So I asked them, maybe the mother is also having some problem. Then we realized that the child was a 12-year or 13-year-old child. The mother had pulled out the phone and the child just pulled out the hair. And that's really shocked us. We were like, aggression has led or has increased to such an extent. And for what? For a simple small screen. It's not something that we expect from a child. A 12-year-old child is something that we are like, oh, you're a kid, go play cricket. You don't expect them to do that, but that's what's happening. And exposure to inappropriate content, violent, sexual or extremist material. How many of you are on Reddit? Okay. There is a lot of things out there. How do we navigate it? How do we know what is right, what is wrong? How many of us have accidentally exposed ourselves to material that we didn't want to see? Then keeps coming back in our mind in the night and like, oh, I really didn't need to read that. I really didn't need to see it. Happens, right? So, coming back to the legal framework in India, what is it that we have in India that prevents or protects us, or what is happening right now? So, have you heard about the Juvenile Justice Act 2015? You all might have an idea about it. What does it do, or how does it help us? It protects children who are in conflict with law, including cyberbullying, and it mandates that government ensures. I won't cover this because I'm sure that you have a better idea of this. And child online protection, how does it work, especially in cyber violence? It's the Information Technology Act or the Rules 2011 and the POCSO Act 2012. All of these acts are still some things that we use even in our practice, but how do we implement them? Right? How do you implement all of these laws? Who is going to say that this is right, this is wrong? And that's where the Digital Data Protection and Privacy Act comes into play. And that's where the definition of a child is given, who is set as anybody below the age of 18. And this bill is to safeguard the privacy of individuals in India, ensuring the personal data is protected. So if you notice, parental control for data processing is mandated as a part. Prohibition on processing sensitive personal data of information like photos, fingerprints, all of these. Even at our hospital, we have what we call as code pink. So code pink is, code red, code blue in hospitals. Must have all heard Grey's Anatomy or some episode somewhere you might have heard. Code blue, code green, code red. So code pink is basically a code, an emergency code that is employed for child abduction. If there is a possibility of a child abduction, immediately the security personnel activate code pink. In order to search for the child, we need a photo of the child. Yes? So the photo of the child is taken with the consent of the parents while they are being admitted. And this data needs to be erased when the child leaves the hospital. Because this data is something that we cannot continue to have on our servers. But do all apps use such privacy and protection? You don't. Once online, it's forever. Yeah? And that's very dangerous. So there's the prohibition of processing of such data, age verification mechanism, and right to data protection for children. So adult needs to consent for any usage on an app that a child uses. But this is not there. And hopefully there are penalties for non-compliance that will be enforced. So I end my presentation over here. Thank you all for listening.
Okay, Yaseen, thank you for such a interesting and comprehensive look at what healthy use is, what are the harms and so on. When he asked in the beginning whether you have healthy use or pathological use, I think the majority of people said you have healthy use, right? Is that right? Yes. What makes you say that? Or a better question would be, at what point would you say someone has pathological use or they're using technology in an unhealthy way? Any examples?
When everything in your daily life revolves around the technology that you use, where if you don't have technology, you can't win.
Okay, so everything in my life revolves around technology. What else? Anything else? I think it is also easier to see in people around us rather than in ourselves. Have you ever noticed friends, family members who are maybe using technology too much? And what makes you think that, okay, this has crossed the line, this is too much? I'm hearing some murmurs here and there. Could you speak a bit loudly? Yes. 24 by 7, okay. That's a little extreme. What else?
When somebody's talking and you don't even realize that they're talking.
Yeah, so as Yaseen mentioned, fubbing. Anything else? Something we often hear, especially children complain when they come to a clinic, is my parents are always on the phone, right? Even more than me. So during meal time they're on the phone, when I come home they're on the phone, at night they're on the phone. Why have they brought me here? They should be the ones being treated. Do you have similar experiences? No. Very healthy family dynamics. Great. There is, in fact, a lot of difficulty now in the geriatric population, so people who are above 60, using the phone a lot, because it's an easy means to communicate with others, connect with others, and so on, right? And the point at which becomes unhealthy is difficult to recognize. So that's what we're going to talk about a bit. Before we start, yeah. So we are all part of Shut Clinic, so just want to acknowledge our team. We were established in 2014 and is the first exclusive clinic which works with people who have difficulties with any kind of technology overuse, established by Dr. Manoj. Right. Have you checked your phone within 5 minutes of waking up? Yes. Show of hands. Use your phone while eating? Stayed up late scrolling through social media? I think Yaseen has covered that well. Use your phone to avoid a conversation? Spend more than an hour watching videos online? Easy, right? Try to cut down on screen time recently? No. I have been trying in the recent past. Lost track of time while gaming or watching reels or shorts? Yes. So now does this mean that everyone in this room has technology addiction? Okay, then we have many people coming to a clinic than they are. So at what point do we say that? This is the reality, I guess, in a lot of families, right? Somebody mentioned iPad kids. Now we have iPhone kids and they are getting younger and younger. So even a mother who is breastfeeding a child will hold the phone to engage the child, right? In fact, the Indian Pediatric Association has come up with guidelines what a pregnant mother should do to manage her phone use so that it does not affect her child. So when we looked at healthy use, there are a lot of guidelines given by the psychiatric associations in India, America, Canada, Australia, etc., by the pediatric associations and so on. They usually talk about how many hours of use is healthy for a child, right? And they say that, less than 2 years of age, there should be no use at all. And then if there is any screen time, it should be co-viewing, that the parent sits with the child and watches 2 to 6 years, less than 1 hour of screen time. And the bigger the screen, the better. So If they do use screen, a TV is better than a laptop, better than a phone. No screen use before bedtime, so 1 hour bedtime you're not supposed to use the phone. High quality educational content, free of violence, and so on. Now these are the guidelines. How realistic is it for us as adults studying and working, using our devices all day long, to stick to these guidelines? Is it possible? No. Right? In fact, our clinic, one of the research scholars in our clinic did work on how many hours of use do adults in Bangalore have, and it's more than 10 hours, right? Because most of us use it for work. So there is no escaping that screen use. So at what point do we say it's unhealthy? We have to focus on the quality of use. So it's very hard to specify what quantity of use is healthy. What we can talk about is how is the technology being used? Is it passive use or is it interactive use? What would we mean by passive use of maybe a phone screen? Yes? So when we say passive, meaning actively I'm not doing something, right? Yes?
Checking time.
Checking time is very intentional. I want to know the time and I check the time. So I'm actively engaging for some purpose, right? Candy Crush, I think somebody mentioned. Yes, it could. That's very limited interaction. Scrolling is the classic example of passive use. You have not looked up something specific. You are just going through a lot of videos one by one, right? What we mean by interactive use is that you also have an intention and you are contributing something. Anybody who creates content on social media? Yeah? Anybody who uses social media to stay in touch with friends who live far away? Yeah? Even relatives, right? Family members, extended family. So these are all could be very healthy ways to use it. It's for a specific purpose and you are also interacting and producing something. So we want to increase the interactive use and decrease passive use. What is the purpose of use? If you take back one thing from this talk, it is to maybe look at your use throughout the day whenever you use the technology and ask yourself this question: why do I use it? Am I socializing and connecting with others, learning, playing, creating something? All very healthy ways to use technology. Am I using it to serve an emotional purpose? I feel competent when I win at a game. When I get 10 likes from more than yesterday, I feel likable. I can see some pubbing happening there at the back. Am I using it to manage my mood? So Yaseen talked about anxiety disorders, depressive disorders and so on. But even apart from that, for a normal person in a day-to-day life, if I'm stressed, I may use the phone to de-stress myself. A lot of people use the phone at night because it's like, oh, this is my time to de-stress myself. Let me scroll mindlessly, laugh at a few jokes and feel good before I go to sleep, right? Do I use it because I'm bored? And I cannot tolerate boredom. That's a difficulty now, right? We are never bored. We always have the phone with us. And if somebody asks you to be bored for half an hour, it becomes very, very difficult. I'm lonely. So I use the phone to either avoid social interaction or to find people to connect with online, on social media, on gaming platforms and so on. And technology is the only source of positive emotions and experiences for me, right? Maybe things are difficult at home. Maybe I'm stressed in school, in college. Now this is a very reliable source of, going to reels for half an hour, I'll feel good about my life. Or I'll forget the things that I'm worried about. So the question that we need to ask is, do you fulfill these 5 C's of addiction: craving, control, compulsion, coping, and consequence. If you meet maybe 4 or more of these criteria, maybe it's time for you to see whether your technology use has moved into addiction. What we mean by craving is when the screen or phone is not with you, feeling this need emotionally all the time. I need to check my phone, I need to go through it, and if you're asked to keep it away for a few hours, you kind of feel it building more and more within you. Control. So I decide I'll watch something for 1 hour, and then it becomes 2 hours, 3 hours. Slowly I realize it's increasing, but I can't control it. Compulsion, feeling compelled to pick up the phone and use it, even though there may be a part of me which knows that's not the best choice. Coping, I use technology to manage all my negative emotions. I have a fight with a friend, immediately go to the phone. I am stressed about a deadline, immediately go to the phone. So this is my primary means of coping with negative emotions. And consequences. It starts affecting my personal life, maybe your health, your mental health, your academics, your relationship with friends, with family, and so on. And it starts affecting it negatively, but you still continue using and you don't stop. So if you meet 4 or more of these criteria, it's highly likely that you have technology addiction. Other than this, what we call as technology addiction, which can be a little bit more severe, there are certain red flags to look for that maybe your technology use is not very healthy. Fubbing is something Yaseen already spoke about. Technoference is when technology interferes with your personal relationships. So using the phone during meal times and so on. Nomophobia is when you have no mobile phobia. Has anyone maybe given your phone for repair for a day or so, and you did not have it with you and nobody could contact you? Have you had that experience? Without a second phone to replace it, how did it feel? Right? For some people it feels good. In fact, that happened to me last week. It felt very good. It felt very liberating. Nobody could get in touch for work also. Right? Sometimes you start feeling anxious, and we see this more in working professionals. Have I missed an email? Have I missed a message? Is there something I'm missing out on? So that anxiety of not having the phone with you. Zero inbox syndrome. Until I go through every message on WhatsApp, I keep feeling restless. Every message on Instagram, I keep feeling restless. It has to come down to 0. Doom scrolling. Has anyone heard of the term?
Yes, sir.
What does it mean?
Mindless scrolling through the internet.
Mindlessly scrolling, yes, but specifically through negative content,
Yes.
right? So,
And brain rot.
brain rot, yes. Brain rot may be a little bit more broader. Doom scrolling is something which exploits what Sir and Yaseen spoke about. The app designers exploit our tendency to get stuck in negative modes, right? You see some negative content, something that's sad, depressing, and they all makes you angry, and the reels then all have those kind of content. And when you're feeling that way, it's less likely that you'll switch off the app. And we tend to fall into spirals of feeling sad or upset. Very often it happens at night, where we go into these loops of feeling bad about something, watching negative content, feeling worse and worse, and hours go on. Digital burnout. During the lockdown, most of you were in which class? 9th or 10th, right? You had online classes. How difficult was it to focus for 4-5 hours on the classes? Were you, for the whole day, were you even focusing? Like the phone, the laptop is right there, other websites are open. Were you able to focus for so long? And how did it feel when those 5 hours were done? Tired? Doesn't it feel much harder to keep your attention online rather than offline? Right? So this is because specifically using technology causes burnout much quicker. Cybercrime, of course, now every time we make a call, the government reminds us of how much cybercrime there is out there, and any other mental health issues or challenges. Phantom vibration, when your phone is next to you, feeling like it's vibrating even when it's not. You hear the sound of vibration and you immediately think it's your phone, right? Binge gaming, watching, I think all of us have done this over the weekend, finishing one series in a go, right? And selfie-itis, which is taking selfies excessively. What do you think is excessive number of selfies? Do you know a friend who does that? Friends do that, we don't do that, right? So there is a number which says that without any good reason, if you take 4 or more selfies, it is problematic, but it's a little controversial, that number. So what are the types of technology addictions? We have problematic. Yes, I will wind up with something. Yeah. So there is internet gaming disorder and there is online gambling disorder. These are recognized diagnoses that we see in the clinic. Other than this, we have internet use that can be problematic, social media addiction, problematic use of pornography, online shopping addiction, etc. So what can we do? We can make lifestyle modifications in physical ways, social ways, leisure activities, family interaction and parenting side. So socially focusing very deliberately on maintaining real life interactions, making sure that you meet your friends, family one-to-one in real life, participating in social events, avoiding distractions and engaging fully, keeping your phone away when you're out with others, respecting others and using technology ethically. Physically, when you do use technology, using those 20-20-20 rule, after every 20 minutes, you take a break of 20 seconds, look 20 feet away from you. This is basically to help your eyes rest for a while. Sit upright, ensuring leg space, blinking often, which research has shown the rate reduces when you are using screens. Positioning it properly, taking regular breaks, being physically active, having timely meals and getting adequate sleeps. Controlling your technology use, setting time limits, reducing check frequency. You have apps which will track this for you, so certain apps can be useful. Android phones have a digital well-being app pre-installed inside which you can see to know how much you use an app for. Avoid phone use immediately after waking up and before going to bed. So something is to keep the phone away, either in another room or on a table far away from you before you go to sleep. Using silent mode when you're focusing on a particular task, or study modes, different modes that are available in your mobile. Limiting usage during idle moments. Managing FOMO, as Sir has already said. And digital detox. Digital detox is basically the idea of keeping your device away for a set number of hours. So it could be that you keep your device away every day for a couple of hours. It could be that one day you don't use your device at all, maybe a Sunday or something. We have a lot of families who do this together, where the whole family will keep the phone away maybe on a Sunday for 8 hours. What is very interesting about these tactics to manage your digital use is, when you try them is when you realize how difficult is it to do it. So for some people it will be very easy. Try and control and set limits. Does it make you anxious? Does it make you restless? Do you find it very hard? If you find it emotionally taxing, it probably means that your technology use is excessive in some way. Psychologically, we can use breathing exercises, mindfulness, which Yaseen is also using in his research to manage internet gaming disorder specifically. Making a list of coping skills other than technology use. So if I feel upset, can I talk to somebody about it? Can I use a breathing exercise? Can I go for a walk? So having a list of skills which you can use and building up leisure activities. Another one is cyber safety. I think more or less you're aware of these precautions that you need to take online. As mentioned, anything you put online stays there forever. Specifically in families, it's always good to have family time or family rituals without technology. Now, this is something you can introduce into the family, a half an hour or 1 hour daily of having technology free time, having play time, co-viewing, going back to the old routine of watching the TV as a family together, using digital detox or fasting with your family. Another issue that we normally see is that people who struggle with technology use also have difficulties in time management. So if you realize that managing time is something that's also becoming a problem, learning about time management skills. Another common deficit we see is difficulty in social skills. So people who have social anxiety struggle to make friends, struggle to maintain friendships, feel very difficult interacting with strangers and so on. They might use technology more, right? Because it's safer, it's easier to form connections there. So they could work on developing social skills. If you would like to know how your internet uses, this is, you can scan the QR code and look at this form. It's an internet addiction test. It gives you an idea about whether your use is healthy or not. Any questions? Yes.
What is internet gaming disorder?
Internet gaming disorder is basically gaming in a way that it starts affecting your life negatively. So we talked about those 5 C's, right? So you will start seeing those symptoms in some person who is using gaming a lot. It will start affecting their academics. That's what we typically see. Academics are the first things that are affected, and then a lot of fights at home. It's starting to affect their relationships, health, and so on. Alright. So this is the details of the clinic. If you or anyone you know would like, they can call and contact the clinic. We also run a helpline number. So this is run on Fridays from 9:30. Okay, that's not there on the slide. It's run on Fridays from 9:30 to 1. Anyone can call up with any difficulties managing the digital use. They don't have to be addicted, but anything that they would like to try, especially for people who are outside of Bangalore, it can be really useful. Thank you.